Hi, everybody. This is Sarah. And today's just a short live session to kind of talk about why, if you're not speaking up at work, then either you need to make some changes to your work environment or try and transform this fear of speaking up into curiosity. So, there are two main reasons why you, and to be honest, everybody else around you, are keeping their mouth shut. This means you're keeping your ideas, your questions, your perspectives locked away from the light of day. Now, we do this for a number of reasons for self protection, because actually, the short term gain of not speaking up, of not having this fear of potentially being rejected, is very strong and actually almost unconscious in a lot of us. So, it does take some courage to speak up, and the benefits of it are huge for you and for the organization. So, if you're struggling, there are probably one of two things going on. Your working environment, you maybe don't feel safe enough to share, or you are not convinced that your inputs are going to be valued, or you're holding back, as like I was saying, with this personal safety measure because you're worried your input might not be valuable to other people, or potentially a mix of both of those. So if you've not seen it already, then grab a copy of the Courageous Conversation Planner and Checklist, which is going to help you speak up. So if you're one of these people who has or recognizes that you want to say something, but it's almost like you physically can't get the words out of your mouth, or you can't persuade yourself in the internal dialogue that speaking up's the right thing to do in this moment. So grab a copy, and what we're going to do is go through it. We're going to go through some of what's going on and give you some structures and some ideas as to how to really step into conversations, because actually this isn't something we're taught at school. We often don't see modeled in either corporate environments or school environments, or even often in our personal relationships. And yet, unless we can be clear as to what's important to us, unless we can speak clearly as to why something's important, then we're struggling to get to know people. We're actually hiding something of ourselves. We're also not going to be able to fulfill our potential at work. Because if we're not speaking up, if we're not able to share ideas, questions openly without worrying about being wrong, then actually we're not contributing our full value to the business. And the flip side of that is actually you will feel fulfilled, you will feel heard when you are contributing. So getting over this initial hurdle to contribute can be really transformational in your relationships and in the kind of impact that you can make in the business. So when we're talking about speaking up, what I'd like to see and what I'm trying to encourage people to do is to own it. And I sometimes say this is like the power of humans to decide. Speak for yourself. I think, I feel, I believe, I want. All these statements will help people understand what's important to you. They will help people, other people, get clearer as to what it is for you. Who are you? So the most fundamental of human needs is to understand and to be understood. So all these words, using I, owning it, owning the statements that you're making, it feels very uncomfortable to a lot of people. And yet it can provide a lot of power that you stand behind something. This is what you mean. So often we speak on behalf of we. Well, who's we? You can confuse people. Are you talking we on behalf of the business, on behalf of your team? If you are going to use we, just clarify right up front. When I'm saying we, I'm talking on behalf of. It really helps people get to understand what it is you actually mean. Because what we say is something different to actually what we're thinking. What people hear from us, they will then interpret and complete. So it is really important in terms of communication to be clear, or be as clear as you can. Speak with clarity for yourself. The other thing to recognize is whatever your preconceptions, whatever your perspective is, you can never know what's going on behind or in somebody else's head or in their lives, which is maybe impacting in how they're showing up. So when you go into a conversation, accept you don't know the other person's truth. This brings an element of curiosity into the conversation, which is really key to be able to connect with other people, to give you permission to speak up, but also to encourage others to speak up too. So it's something that's really important to remember. And not being afraid of your own emotions and your feelings. This is again something that doesn't get taught or spoken about much, but actually emotions are good. Emotions, I often say, are energy in motion. And if we talk or if we let them out, if we understand what it is, then actually connecting with them, connecting with the feeling, connecting with the emotion shows that we actually care about whatever it is we're talking about. And we want people to care about what they're doing. We want people who are passionate. And that means that emotions will form part of business discussions, whether people like it or not. So this is like moving away from this preconception that emotions have nothing to do with business. They do. And this is why emotional intelligence is so key in being able to unlock innovation and creativity, because it takes it to that level of allowing emotions to be present, recognizing them, not getting overwhelmed. And if you do, feeling free to step out and say, I just need 5 minutes to go and sort this out for myself. So the other thing is about setting boundaries, because when we talk about emotions being present, quite often one of the emotions that is accepted maybe in corporate is anger. And people do raise their voice, people shout, but knowing words to actually call it out in a way which is saying, it's okay to be angry, but for example, it's not okay to shout at me. So being able to set boundaries for yourself and others, because quite a lot of people get triggered in disagreements or when they think there's going to be a disagreement with somebody. So just recognizing that and creating language for yourself that will help you deal with it in the situation. Now, quite often we actually go into a conversation or end up in a conversation and think, oh my goodness, how did I end up here? So what I've created for you is the Courageous Conversation Planner and the Courageous Conversation Agenda. Now, both of these are important to kind of help you structure. And if you start using them as a starting point in conversations that are coming up, rather than the ones you kind of find yourself in, then you can start planning around it. You can start creating courage by actually knowing what it is that you want to say, doing some upfront work, setting an intention. But just on this slide, the flip side of curiosity is as soon as you bring up blame, judgment, or the need to prove that I'm right, curiosity is gone. The other person feels this and they will react badly. So this is where it comes into, he said, she said, and you're just ending up in this backwards and forwards. And if you notice you're there, just stop it. I notice that this isn't getting us anywhere. Can we just take a step back, reset an intention as to what we want to do here? So that's something that's actually really important in terms of being able to create the space to have these kind of conversations. So the Courageous Conversation Planner, as I've set it up, I'll show you it here quickly, but actually I want to go into the worksheet itself. What I want to do first, though, is just explain why this is today more crucial than ever. I think there's a lot of us who are feeling super uncomfortable with some of what's going on in the world. And I see this as almost a calling that those of us who believe that we should be supporting other people, that we want to create a world which is kind, which is courageous, and is creating a better life on Earth for future generations, then all of these events, be it what happened in America last week with the overruling, be it Ukraine and what's happening with the war there, it's almost like we're being called to use our voices. For those of us that have been holding back, kind of accepting and also expecting that other people are on the same page as us, we actually need to use these events to kind of give us courage to start talking about what is important to us. Because if we don't, the needle's not going to move. If anything, we're seeing a regression, that things are going to move backwards. We're going to become more polarized. And actually, to be able to make sustainable change in the world, we need to be able to speak about what's important to us. We also then need to be able to create an environment where other voices can be heard on an equal playing field, that we can help others step into sharing what's important to them. Because when we speak up, when we take this for ourselves and we start sharing more openly, actually it reflects back. You will start seeing other people, and actually you can encourage other people. So when you shared something, to then say, and what's here for you as I say that? Now, this isn't about creating a huge discussion around points, but it is ensuring that you've got all the facts on the table. You're missing opportunities. Businesses are missing opportunities to really step up, to create new ideas for the business, to create new structures for the business that will create a more sustainable business going forward. Where people are like this, where people aren't sharing, that's not happening. In fact, the worst bit is businesses don't even see this. It's being passed by. So I hope this resonates with you, because there's so much here where we can make change. So if you're feeling struck or frustrated because you're struggling to speak up, because you then go into this internal dialogue as to why didn't I speak up? If I'd have said this, maybe something different would have happened. So it often also leads that your contribution, you don't feel appreciated. You know you've got valuable inputs and your questions might be interesting for others, but you're literally incapable sometimes of speaking up. And then, like I said, then you go into beating yourself up later for not having said it. And actually, going back after the fact, you sometimes feel might look even worse. So how do you get out of that cycle? Because you've got skills and experience to share more. But it's not about knowing the right answer. It's not about trying to push your ideas onto others. It's about creating a better business by harnessing all of the potential in the room. After all, giving your time and energy into your business every single day, so I'm assuming you want it to succeed, right? Because new leadership is about helping others share their thoughts, feelings, ideas, questions, to rehumanize the working world and create structures that nourish employees rather than leading to burnout, to create an abundance of power rather than ruling the world through fear and scarcity. You see, the businesses that will capitalize on resolving the world's problems, because every time there's a problem, there's a massive opportunity. So there are lots of businesses that are really going to create potential out of finding solutions to these. They'll be creating smart solutions that will put inclusive leadership at the heart of innovative technology. So I guess my question is, are you ready to play a part in that new emerging world? Do you want to feel like you're maximizing your contribution to the human revolution at work? It doesn't even take much. So what it is with the Courageous Conversation Planner, I've created this kind of almost a summary of what we've just discussed as a starting point. And then I've gone through some of the really key questions that I know help my clients step up and challenge themselves to actually understand what's important to them. So just asking yourself some of these questions on topics where you feel super uncomfortable, maybe you can't put it into words, but you know there's something there. It's really important to get clear on why something's important to you. It sounds stupid, but it is actually super important. Why am I being triggered by this? Why am I passionate about it? What about this topic is important to me? So again, if it's important to me, why is it useful for me to speak up? Then be clear on how this can benefit your team and your business. And use these 2 points to set an intention. So when we go on to the planner, it's around setting an intention for the conversation. What's your intention for going into the conversation? It helps focus your brain. What am I doing here? Then, being clear why this is important, writing down a few words to kind of set the scene for yourself. It's also useful to kind of what I call design the alliance, but it doesn't have to be a difficult process. Just saying, it's really important for me that when we have this discussion, that we treat each other with respect and we listen to each other's ideas. Because then later on, if the person is not honoring those, it actually allows you to come back into that conversation. We agreed at the start we'd be treating each other with respect and having an open and honest conversation. So just using all of these to create words, create sentences that can make a very uncomfortable discussion feel a little more in control. So each of these points will just help you kind of get clear as to what you want to get out of the conversation, what's important for you to be able to have that conversation in the first place, and then, why? Why are you feeling so sensitive about this conversation? A lot of people struggle to go into difficult conversations where they fear disagreement. And yet, as we said before, if you avoid judgment, blame, and trying to prove you're right, if you're there to really be curious, to open a conversation, then actually conflict can occur, but occurs an awful lot less than most people fear. So doing this, and actually if you use it in a few times where you've planned a conversation, then being able to speak up when it's not planned, when something confronts you in a meeting, becomes a lot easier. So you try it a couple of times with kind of fairly safe situations, and then you can increase the level of uncertainty in how you're showing up. Because believe me, the more you step into this, the more you use this, the more you become intentional about using your voice, you can make a difference in your business. You can accelerate your team's progress, help discover new opportunities. And also, the great thing about it actually helps deepen your relationship. So using these kind of structures have really helped my clients to step into conversations that they were worried about, they were concerned about. Because when we step into a conversation, when we're willing to listen and we're willing to share, we create real connections with other people. So this planner and agenda, to just help keep you on track, you can share it with the other person if you need to. Explain that you've had these new ideas and you've got a structure which would help you to have the conversation. This is all okay, but just use it as a way to actually help you build the courage to have the conversation. So if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or feeling underappreciated, then now is as good a time as any. Like I said, it's almost like we're being called forward to actually set an intention for change, a change in your contribution. And if you need help taking the first steps and trying out a proven structure to do this, then just ask for the Speak Up Courageous Conversation, Planner, and Agenda. And if you need more, then look out for the training recap next week. I hope this is useful, and I hope to see you all again soon. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.